Thank you so much, Shira, for coming to talk to us today about Nightcapit. And I wonder if you just give us a little bit of background into why you started the business in the first place.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I started Nightcap 5 years ago. I had a friend that was roofied at the bar. And a few weeks later, I went to bed one night and thought of the idea in a dream when I was sleeping. And it was just basically an image in my brain that I knew could save a lot of people. So I ran downstairs in the morning and I told my dad what I was trying to visualize. And instead of talking about the product, I ran around my house trying to see what I could make this product out of. And I came up with grabbing my mom's stockings in an old spreadsheet from my room. And that's how I created the first prototype of Nightcap. And that's when our company was born. So we are the drink spiking prevention company, but we just originated as one product, which was a scrunchie. And now we have all different kinds of products to cover your drink, no matter who you are or what you're drinking.
I love that story, how you started things. So, to people who maybe don't understand, you mentioned roofie. I mean, in terms of drink spiking, what does it actually mean and what sort of substances are being used?
Yeah, it can mean a lot of things. Drink spiking is when something enters your food or your beverage without your consent, without your knowledge. And that can go from Rohypnol, which is what we use the term roofie from. That's where the word originates. It can be GHB, Xanax, alcohol. There is a very large range of these drugs that we honestly, I know a lot of times we look at test strips and we think we could just test our drink to see if it's been spiked. But a lot of times these test strips, they don't test for all different types of these drugs. And so they only test for one or two. And in reality, there's so many more that we aren't aware of. And just somebody adding more alcohol than you knew was in your drink currently, that's considered spiking. You should always know what you're drinking and what's inside your drink. You know your body more than anyone else and your tolerance. So nobody else should be taking advantage of what you're putting inside of your body. The most common person to spike your drink is actually someone that you know, which is super crazy research that we found. And a lot of that research has come from our customers and our audience and people that we interact with all the time that are commenting on our videos and saying, this is what happened to me. And so we're taking that message and we're telling people when you go to the pregame or when you go to this intimate event at the house party, that's where you should be still alert. And a lot of times we think that those are the places where we can relax and let our guard down and leave our drink and let other people make our drink. And a lot of times those settings are where it's happening. And so we understand that and take precaution because we, for some reason, feel like we can let our guard down when we really shouldn't be.
That's really interesting. I mean, I've read the same sort of stat in the UK as well, that a lot of this is actually happening in house parties and, like you said, sort of environments with friends and in places that you really would generally feel quite safe. The other place, of course, is clubs and bars as well. And this is affecting women as well as men, isn't it? Have you got that same sort of background incidents happening in the US as well?
Yes, we started the product based off of a woman's story. So we catered the product towards women. And then we realized this isn't just a problem for women, but women might be the only people talking about it. So when we started 5 years ago, it felt like nobody was talking about drink spiking. And if you were accused of drinking too much, which people still are accused of drinking too much, but there was no conversation around the problem. So when it came up in conversation, we were all skeptical. Are you sure? That doesn't really happen. And I think with our awareness on social media, it has brought the conversation to light and people have started to talk about it. That's how we found out that it's not just a problem for women. And we started to pivot. We started to create products for all genders, unisex products that, for anyone to be able to go out to the bar and cover their drink if they feel like, you know, just to give them peace of mind. And we continued to do that with, just looking at what people were drinking and seeing this is what we need next. Just because you're drinking out of a beer bottle does not mean that you're invincible. It can definitely still happen to you. So we created beer bottle tops and kept on going. We said, you know, this is a need and we're going to find a way to give people safety products because that's where the world is today. But I think there's different ways to look at it. You can look at it and say this is so horrible, but I think it's almost empowering to be able to cover your drink and take safety into your own hands. And you know, at the end of the day, it's a conversation starter. It allows for people to heal from what has happened to them. And a lot more people than we realize have been affected by the crime. Everyone that I talk to, one or has a story themselves, and it feels way bigger than it should be. And it's just not being talked about. But yes, and women, all genders can be roofied. A lot of times it's for the purpose of robbery or assault. So if you're wearing something nice, you can be a target and have no idea. This is something that we just don't really talk about, so we're not aware of it. But the more people start sharing stories, the more we can be more alert and avoid these situations.
And one of the things that really surprised me from the UK piece of research was actually people just don't report it. And that the general feeling is that they didn't think they'd be listened to or they didn't think they'd be believed. Again, is that sort of something you're hearing anecdotally from your customers?
Yeah, because there's a lot of different reasons, but when you're roofied, there's this part of guilt that you feel that it was your fault and you shame yourself into feeling like, okay, maybe I wasn't roofied. Maybe this didn't happen. And it's almost like you're gaslighting yourself into thinking that it's your fault. And so when you have that feeling, you don't feel like you need to report it or you should report it. And on the other hand of things, people are accused of drinking too much. So if they do report it, they're shut down. So yeah, a lot of the times it goes unreported, which is why I like to shy away from statistics because I think they're wrong. But the statistics in America are that 1 in 2 women have been roofied and 1 in 3 men have been roofied. But that is just what's reported.
That's interesting because certainly I've got here from 2023, 2.2 of the UK adult population having their drinks spiked in the last 12 months, but 11% in their lifetime, which again, because of the underreporting, so is a snapshot, I guess. But like you say, certainly I know someone who has been, and it's changed. I suspect this is something you found as well, is that it changes people's attitudes to going out. When this has happened, it creates fear, it creates a sort of loss of confidence. People end up not wanting to go out, not see people. I mean, have you found the same yourself?
Definitely. We see people talking about how that experience led them to staying home or not wanting to participate in any social settings or even just not drinking alcohol, which doesn't always correlate because your drink can be spiked if it's water. So I absolutely understand why they would avoid any of these situations after the fact, but sad because the bars and the clubs that this happens at, they haven't, at least, on a large scale, done much to bring people in, to make them feel safe. And it seems like it's just an ongoing cycle that, there's a lot of us, I think, that have been contributing to trying to make these places better and safer. And at the end of the day, we all just want to go out and have fun and not have to worry about this stuff. there's a lot of us, I think, that have been contributing to trying to make these places better and safer. And at the end of the day, we all just want to go out and have fun and not have to worry about this stuff. But we need the help and support of those venues as well, which feels like we're not getting. You know, they oftentimes don't care about your safety and just want to make money.
Right.
So it's really hard on that end if it's not going through legislation and changing the laws that they have to follow. So, yeah, we see the same things, but it's a work in progress. I definitely have hope that it'll change because they're gonna end up with no customers. They're gonna end up with people who just don't go out anymore because they don't feel safe. That's where it's headed. So, I really hope that they see what's going on and how it's affecting their people, and they try to cultivate a safer environment.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think one of the things that really stood out for me, the person I know who had her drink spiked, she ended up buying one of your products and the scrunchie and used that. But then she stopped using it. And I think, why do you think people stop using something? I mean, for me, it feels very much if everyone in the bar had your product on top of their drink, it's easier to do, isn't it? It's easier to be the person who is doing the same thing as everyone else is doing. How can we enable, people to feel able to do that? But no one wants to sort of look out on their own, do they? I get it why people stop using something or feel a bit embarrassed about using something. What are you finding with that?
Yeah, I find that it's like wearing a seatbelt or locking your door, that we should be looking at it that way and saying to protect ourselves and maybe feel a little embarrassed if that's what, you're saying, or do you want to I just think it comes down to not wanting people to have to use the product after something's happened. I don't know. I'm not someone who gets embarrassed by things like that, so I can't really I can't speak to it. We don't have customers that come up to us and say that they're embarrassed to use it. If anything, we've made our products like a fun solution to a really serious problem, so we don't have to scare people into using it or make people feel weird. It's a cute scrunchie or it's a cute keychain that can go on your drink, or we have like little hands that go on your beer bottle. We've made it fun and interactive and a conversation starter. So I don't really get that feedback a lot. And it's just what you have to do.
I think you're right. I think the fact that you've made a product interesting and a conversation starter sort of gets beyond that a little bit of it, doesn't it? Maybe that sort of feeling like, gosh, I'm going to be the only person using this because actually I want to prevent something happening to me. Of course, we all put our seatbelt on, don't we? We do it without even thinking these days. And getting ahead of stopping spiking when you know it's out there has to be the right way forward. So I think that's great. It just interests me that actually if we could get all bars basically supplying it at the bar, then that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Because for those people who might feel a little bit coy about using a product like this, that sort of just enables them to be able to crack on and use it. And how successful in terms of anecdotal feedback from customers? I mean, it's difficult to tell if something's been prevented, I suppose, but are you getting some good feedback in terms of anecdotes?
Yeah, we've had many reviews or comments from people saying they've actually seen pills and powders on top of their nightcap, which I never expected because you would think if somebody's wearing something like that on their drink, why would you even try? And I guess in these situations, they have the nightcap on and maybe the perpetrator doesn't see and still tries it. So there have been a few situations where people have written to us and said, yeah, I found pill and powders on top of my drink on the nightcap and it could have saved my life. So feedback like that is priceless. If we're saving one life, we just have to keep going because that means so much to us. And, just people who have either had an experience or not even had an experience and are just afraid of the problem. just giving them that peace of mind has been great. And they always write in and say stuff like, thank you. And they don't leave the house without it. So we've had great feedback. And yeah, it's been really great.
Fantastic.
Cool.
So just to finish off, if you were, and this is in addition to obviously Nightcap, you've been exposed to a lot of stories, I expect, and have probably done a lot of your own research along the way as well about ways to stay safe. So if you're going to give sort of 5 ways to stay safe, what would they be?
Yeah. So I would say always watch whoever's making your drink like a hawk. Like, watch them make your drink. If it's a bartender, if it's a friend, if you can make it yourself, do that. Never let your guard down in those situations like a pregame or an intimate event. You just never know. So always keep your drink in front of you, holding it. Always keep your eyes on it. Don't be afraid to say no to something. You don't always have to have a drink in your hands, and you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. And then I would say never leave your drink unattended with or without something like a nightcap. Even with our product on your drink, it's not for going to the bathroom. It's for when you're holding it or when it's right in front of you. And then I know that's 5, but I think maybe I'll say to go out with people that you actually trust and have a hand signal, have a code word when you're feeling unsafe. You use that hand signal and it means it's time to go. And if your friends aren't leaving when you use the hand signal, you need new friends.
Good call. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to get out there?
Share your location with your friends, your family. Plan your route, know where you're going before you go, and always trust your gut.
All good advice. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dashira, for joining us from Nightcapit. I'm delighted to say that if you download the Imabi Guardian app, which you can use for location finding, and it's got safety guides and more useful information about how to remain safe in the evenings, Dashira and Nightcapit are offering 10% off their products, which you can use the code that you'll find and the link on the app when you download it. Thanks very much for listening in, and stay safe.